fantastic. What a trio.
Yes, indeed. We're not going to be seeing these aircraft in formation, but they're going to be performing individually, as the Catalina is doing now. The type entered service with the RAF with squadrons based in Northern Ireland during 1941, and it was that May that they had their first major success with RAF Coastal Command as part of the hunt for the German battleship Bismarck.
You can see on the fuselage these large spherical windows that actually oversized.
It is like a white split Catalina.
Pleasure points for the
Yes, there was an idea to use this particular one. There's a lot of variants of RAF production, wasn't there? So they're definitely big blisters. That's the original blisters of Catalina.
Is it chilling out on the floor? What a nice plane.
Yes, it looks into the Bismarck. It's the Catalina station.
Look, just left it there and tried to release it.
Receiving fire from the ship's guns until the naval vessel back in the vicinity, which is where the swordfish can come onto, enters the story. We're talking about the U-boats, Colin. The last U-boat sinking of the whole of the Battle of the Atlantic by a Catalina was on the 7th of May 1945, just the day before VE Day. So the wingtip floats have come down here.
It was the longest battle of the Second World War. In fact, the U-boats were operating throughout, and it was only at the very end when the Kriegsmarine actually gave up their arms, and all of those U-boats that were still active, many of them of course didn't survive at all. It was a very dangerous preoccupation to be a U-boat, be aboard a U-boat during the Second World War. This aircraft of course was used widely for air-sea rescue, and in fact this carries the artwork for Miss Pickup, the original Miss Pickup based out of Houndsworth in Suffolk.
Yes, finally, pretty close to the end of the war, the US Army Air Forces in Britain got their hands on a few Catalinas, which they called OA-10As, and used them for air-sea rescue purposes with the 8th Air Force, and the aircraft that was named Miss Pickup, the original Miss Pickup, was one of them from the 5th Emergency Rescue Squadron. This aircraft operated by Plain Sailing from Duxford, owned by a group of shareholders, and they're having a shareholders' day in October. There's an advert for it in the programme for this show, so if you're interested in becoming part of the group, you don't have to be a pilot, you just have to have an enthusiasm for the Catalina.
And a fairly large wallet.
Yes, indeed. Then it's a very good opportunity. The aircraft now with the tricycle undercarriage down, on final approach. It's had a very busy year, including a trip up to the north of Scotland to commemorate the oldest surviving Victoria Cross recipient, Flying Officer John Cruikshank, Catalina captain with number 210 Squadron of RAF Coastal Command, now aged 103, and the aircraft was able to overfly his home. Flying the Catalina for us today, in the captain's seat Phil Pettit, and in the co-pilot seat Jeff Boyling. Rather appropriate stablemate in this slot now in the